TurboGrafx 16 is about to knock video games back into the Stone Age. It's 10,000 years ago. You're a cave dude. You are carnivorous. You've got to bonk 28 stages of prehistoric bad guys to rescue your excellent-looking princess. And you've only got one weapon. Bonk's Adventure, only on the TurboGrafx 16 system.
Funky colors, shapes that swing.
It's impossible.
This episode brought to you by the World Economic Order. We got this. It's fine. Why do you look so concerned?
Swing your arms from side to side. Come on, everybody, let's do Mario. It's a podcast, people. We're supposed to be excited. We're supposed to be excited. What, you don't like my intro? You don't like my intro?
No, I love it.
You do love my intro?
It's great.
Thank
I love
you.
your
The thing
intro.
is that she doesn't understand that Do the Mario was actually a thing. He's too young.
It was sweeping the nation at one time. Everybody was doing the Mario.
It was Do the Mario, and then it was Do the Bartman, and
Do the Bartman. Yeah. Moonwalking all the way through school.
Oh,
yep.
missed out.
Into our hearts. You missed
Michael
out
Jackson
hard.
lighting his hair on fire.
Michael
My
Jackson
generation
laid
was
his hands
dabbing.
Ew.
that tell you?
A lot of horrible things about who you are as a human being. I've judged you.
I never
worse
did
now.
myself, but
You've never
that is
dabbed?
my generation. I can't say I ever dabbed.
Are you anti-dab?
I am.
Jason's an
I'm
anti-dab.
pretty anti-dab.
Yeah, dabbing is stupid. Don't do it.
Would you protest against dabbing?
No, I don't. I'm not that far into it. You know, as an anti-dabber, I just think it's stupid and people shouldn't do it.
Let's get us to 100 likes and Jason will dab on camera.
Oh, no.
Not a chance.
Not gonna happen, don't worry.
well, see, this is what happens with most of these questions, Jason. When you have like a how much money would it cost to do this sort of thing, it's not that you won't do it; it's the price.
That's true. That is true in this
Because
case.
if
True.
I
Somebody
say if I
said,
give you
here's $1 million,
right,
dab for me, I'd say okay.
So what would the cost be for
But
your dignity?
Like for the YouTube channel,
for dabbing?
it'd have
Theoretically
it
speaking,
would have to be like 100,000 likes at the bare minimum
really?
before I do it.
Would
yeah.
you, in fact, dab on our haters?
Dab on our haters.
Dab on what? Oh, dab on the haters.
Yeah.
No.
You
Darn
could. Oh man.
Only if
Either
they
the
gave us
success of this
100,000
podcast-
likes.
Or you dab on the haters?
We're never gonna get there, Jason. We're never getting there.
Not with that attitude.
I'm naturally a pessimistic person, Jason. It's part of my nature. And I'm saying that to imply that when I say it's part of my nature, it means I don't have to do anything about it because it's inherent and I don't have to try to improve myself.
Keeps us going.
Good point.
Jason, what have you been up to?
A couple things. I watched a terrible movie on YouTube. It was called Undercover Brother.
Okay.
Yeah. So the forces of a clandestine black operation are set in motion to foil the machinations of the man, and the man is actually an old white dude that he sits in the shadows so you can't see his face. Um, it I the only people I remember are Eddie Griffin. That is he is Undercover Brother. He doesn't actually have a name. He's Undercover Brother. And Neil Patrick Harris is in it. He's the token white guy that works for the black organization.
Oh, is
It's
it a
terrible.
little black exploitation-y sort of movie?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. Definitely.
And I'm not opposed to those sorts of movies. I've seen Blackula. I'm a huge fan of Coming to America. Coming to America is great. I mean, Coming to America is not necessarily black exploitation, but it's very. Believe it or not, kids, when we grew up, a lot of us watched The Cosby Show and Family Matters. And
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Family Matters for the first few seasons.
Family Matters
until
was fun.
until it became Urkel centric, and then it became awful.
Yeah.
And then it was just about Urkel, and it's like, oh, the family with the cop dad and everything. That was fun.
I also finished Dimension W. It's an anime that I mean, it's set in the future. They discover that there's this like other universe, and they can tap it for energy in our universe. So you have these things called coils that pull energy from this other universe to power everything. And there's this one guy, he's kind of a bounty hunter. So if people have illegal coils, he's supposed to go and collect them. The thing is that it kind of devolves at the end into this weird thing where the dimension W is actually where the like where possibility exists. So if it was an unrealized possibility, then the you decide to wake up one day and decide to wear black socks instead of white socks. Well, that possibility that you wore white socks goes there, and so it's kind of this weird mashup of memory and possibility that's actually there. That's where they're getting the power from, and it's just like, well, this is dumb. But other than that, when it devolves into this crazy, like this is what the universe actually is, then it's actually pretty entertaining. The main character is, I mean, he's a man's man. He's a tough guy, really strong. The So it's fun to watch him get into fights and stuff. But other than that, yeah. Also finished a book that was it was a detective cop procedural book. It was pretty fun, but again, it's one of those things where it's fun up to a point, and then the author takes you off the deep end, and you're like, "Those."
It's funny.
Anyway, a
lot of books and movies seem to have a really clever premise that don't know how to end themselves, or at least wrap the premise up in a logical direction. Like this happens all the time. This one,
I mean, the wrap up was okay to a point. So it was called Moon Over Soho, and it's in that I talked about it on the channel before. I read the first book in the series called Midnight Riot. So it's about a detective constable or police constable, and he actually finds out that he can do magic and it exists and stuff. And so he gets brought on to be kind of on the X-Files arm of the Metropolitan Police in London. In this particular book, he has the case that he starts working on is these jazz musicians just start dropping dead. They're perfectly healthy, and then something happens, they just drop dead, and only like because he can detect magic now, he detects it on the corpses. And it turns out that there's these 3 girls that were in the Blitz during World War II, and they were at a jazz club that got bombed. And this part is actually true. There was a jazz a jazz musician named Snake Hips. I forget that was his nickname, and he was actually singing in a jazz club that got bombed, and he died on stage. And so the girls were like at the club where this happened, and their abilities kicked in, and so now they don't realize it, but they've been around for longer than they should have, and they're the ones that keep draining and killing these jazz musicians. And that's where it kind of goes off the rails for me, because the guy's like, we shouldn't kill them because they don't realize what it is that they're actually doing, that they're the ones that are causing the deaths. And they didn't. They were completely oblivious to the fact that these jazz musicians were dying because they were accidentally draining life from them. And so he was trying to come up with a solution. And when he like told them, you are the ones that are doing this, they thought that the police were going to come and hunt them down and kill them. So they just went off and committed suicide anyway. And it's like, well, yikes, that sucks.
It sounds interesting. It's just, oh goodness.
That's a weird way to end it.
Yeah.
They just die.
Silver watched Deadpool.
Yeah, and
oh, sorry, Jason. Finish your thought, and then we'll talk about it.
I was just going to say, yeah, it was, like I said, it was good, and then the end was such a big downer. I was like, ugh.
All right.
But anyway, yeah, go ahead. Sorry to jump in there, Silver.
Again. Yeah, I watched Deadpool. It was really good. Deadpool Wolverine. It's smallest glimmer of hope, but then it's immediately dashed.
Well, there's a few main problems, and you were there when me and Ross discussed the film. But it's like, look, if we were to break down the plot, it makes no sense. It tramples on the legacy of the other movies. There's no logic to it. The TVA is really stupid, but that's not why people like it. It's just a fun movie. It's not you're not upset that it's damaging characters, or it's just a fun movie. And it's fun to watch. It's got stupid jokes. You get to see character cameos, even though if you think about it, it damages characters that were in those movies and their cameos. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I like the jokes.
Oh, it was so good.
It's fun to watch. There's been some lambasting of the plot, but it's past $1 billion now. Like the movie's just been
Wow.
Yeah, it's just destroyed. And it's fun. It's fun to see Hugh Jackman back, and there are a lot of jokes at Disney's expense, which is the funny part.
Which is, yeah, that's I was going to say.
Well, just the best one is when he turns to Wolverine and he's like, "Oh, you're in the MCU now. MCU now. You've come at a low point." And it's like, oh no. There's a moment in the movie where they talk about how bad multiverses are, where he's like, "Oh, multiverses are terrible. We need to stop doing that." Disney doesn't understand though. They're just gonna keep doing multiverses.
Yeah, they will.
It's a fun time. Sorry to Bogart your point. Any points to make about the film?
No, that pretty much wrapped it up. It was really fun. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but I don't care.
Yeah. And I think that's what some people don't realize. I've listened to some negative podcasts about it that lambast the plot, and they're correct. There are problems with the plot. That being said, I still had fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference is if you're enjoying yourself, it's a lot easier to get past those issues.
Well, it's one of those things where you have a movie that, it could be the tightest plot ever, where they've got no plot holes and the story just makes sense from end to end. But if you don't have fun watching the movie, you're not going to go watch the movie. You know what I mean? Whereas this one, there's plot holes. There's a whole bunch of things that don't make sense, but people are sitting there going, "This is a good time. Well, I'm enjoying myself."
I liken See, the problem, I guess, some people who are treating the plot in a serious way, the problem with that is people who are watching it having fun at the fourth wall breaking and the jokes and stuff are watching it not like it's a serious movie, but like they're watching Austin Powers when he turns to the screen and says, why don't you just don't think about it? Because the time travel doesn't make sense. So
Yeah.
it's fair to say there are problems with it. And Deadpool draws this weird line where it's a cross between an entirely comedic show and then it's trying to be somewhat serious. And it's like, what does it want us to do? Treat it like a serious film or treat it like it's a goofy comedy that plays fast and loose with the rules and plot and what have you? But it's fun nonetheless. That being said,
like one of the last good Marvel movies we're gonna get. So
it may be.
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, I mean, we've had that desperate move to try and drag Robert Downey Jr. back in to try and salvage everything, which I don't think is going to be successful.
It won't be successful if it's a bad movie. If it is a good movie and people go to see it, they'll say it was because of Robert Downey Jr. rather than the fact that it was a good movie.
Well, precisely. Right when you were saying that, and I was like, and when he stops being in the movies, it goes back again. Because if it works, because he's there, then it's going to fail when he's not.
Right.
Therein lies the problem. And theoretically, we could have him as a villain in a movie that's really bad. And now it damages Robert Downey Jr.
Yep.
I mean, imagine him being a part of the Marvels and everyone's like, but Robert Downey Jr.'s in it and he's really good. It's like, yeah, but the Marvels is really bad.
The rest of it is crap.
So I don't think he's the panacea, the fix-all, end-all that people think he's going to be, but whatever you're going to do. Hey, guys, it's been a crazy week. Like every flippin' week that we've ever had every day for this podcast. Every time we come in, it's like massive new news, chaos erupts, things are burning down, and it's like, oh, well, let's talk about it like nothing's going on. So for people, everything's fine. For people who don't know, who aren't paying attention to the market, it was Monday where the market had a massive crash. Now, to clarify, massive crash, over 1,000 points is a massive crash. Now that's a big crash for the market for America. Japan had its worst day in Japanese history. Like, it was worse than the 1987 crash that damaged their economy after their bubble burst in the 80s that they never recovered from economically. That's how bad it was for Asia. Korea, their market crashed as bad. I think it was the worst it's been since like 1957. Taiwan crashed really bad. I think Taiwan and Korea shut down their markets for 24 hours. Wow. And Robinhood shut down their market. No, like I can't underestimate how bad this was globally and for Asia specifically. Japan's economy is not doing well. I know they've dumped trillions of dollars in U.S. bonds in the last month. Japan is shaking itself of economic woes, especially when they have massive problems with repopulation. They don't have enough people paying into the economy to fix the fact that they have a huge population on their healthcare system, which is socialized. There are a massive amount of problems, and this crash has had a massive effect across the market overall. And we've had a bunch of companies have their big quarterly earnings reports this week. Disney notably had a really... So Disney went down this week because of the big crash. Unsurprising, Disney has had a shaky end up. But then they had their quarterly earnings report, and it went down because of that. Most notably because Disney...
Disney's been putting out bombs for a long time.
They reported lower park attendance.
Yeah.
And that was a problem because most of their money is made in the park attendance. I'm getting weird digital something in my headset. Maybe that's someone else, and I'm going to not pay attention to it. WB had massive economic woes. Paramount had massive economic woes. So did a lot of other companies, especially when we like to talk about social media and pop culture and streaming and blah, blah, blah. And I sort of was thinking about this week and thinking about how is this going to affect, what does streaming look like with all the economic woes and how are things going to look like in the future? And I'll lead you along to give you an idea of where I'm going with this. I need to make sure I bring this, let's see, this one. And why you no work? I'm working on it. See, there we go. All right. So I started thinking about streaming. Would anybody be shocked that the largest streamer in the world is YouTube, not Netflix?
Really? No.
Yeah, and I looked at numbers, and 2023 and 2022, it was Netflix. So I guess YouTube has surpassed Netflix as the largest streamer in the world at the moment. On top of that, you look at companies who everybody considers to be some of the biggest competitors in streaming, like Disney Plus, who only accounts for like 2% of the overall TV usage for people. Hulu is also supposed to be one of the bigger players, which is only slightly better than Disney Plus.
Which for Disney's going to add those two together because they own Hulu.
Well, famously, Bob Iger promised that Disney Plus was going to be revenue positive by the end of this year, and I don't think they're going to make it.
They're not going to make it.
Just to say, I'm no expert, but I don't think they're going to make it by the end of this year. But I know that they were trying to do big like bundles with Hulu to try and, I don't know if that's them fudging numbers or whatever, to try and sell it more. It's like, oh, you get a big bundle.
I know that. So we got originally we got our Disney Plus bundle because my wife got a new cell phone plan, right? And Verizon was like giving, you get a plan, you get Disney Plus. And it came with Hulu.
I have Hulu because of my cell phone provider. Like that's just because I have my cell phone provider. But on top of this, which isn't listed, it's listed in the others. You have HBO Max, you have Paramount, you have a bunch of other services
that are making up 11% of that graph, but each one of those for their parent company is making nothing.
No more than 2% if Disney is at 2%.
No.
Otherwise, they'd be featured.
Yeah.
Yeah, and those companies are. I suppose I'd like to open this to general discussion with current economic climate, because it looks like WB is collapsing in on itself. So is Paramount. And we've been talking about for a while that streaming is in a bubble, that we have too many streaming services and a lot of them aren't revenue positive anyway. You would be shocked to know that a lot of these streaming services are not actually bringing in as much money as people seem to think. And part of it is because of the revenue model, which makes no logical sense. I mean, previously with cable, you would have a show and then you could judge how successful the show was based upon how many you're viewing it, because they're being exposed to commercials at certain intervals. In streaming, you no longer have those commercials. The revenue is based off of subscriptions. So when you release a new show, you're not getting ad revenue because of the success of the show. The only way you could tell if a show's successful at all is if it brings in new subscribers. And that's a lot more wonky. And a lot of the people in Hollywood used to earn money off of syndication based upon how often it's re-aired. But the problem is that's not something you can calculate anymore when it comes to streaming.
Right. Right.
which during the last strike, they had a lot of demands. I don't think many are going to survive. My expectation is, especially with a lot of the shakeout because of the bad economic crisis. Oh, by the way, before we get too far into the weeds here, Japan also had the first triggering of their mega earthquake warning.
Wow.
They had a
Oh yeah,
so
I saw that.
there's a mega
Tsunami
earthquake warning that exists in Japan because they're expecting a potential 8 to 9 earthquake, and they got a 7.1. And last time they had the massive Fukushima disaster, it basically they had a mega earthquake after an initial 7 something earthquake. So it's like a couple days later they had their mega one. So there's been a lot of paranoia that they're cruising for a really big earthquake. And there was tsunami warnings and stuff. Hopefully they're out of the woods, especially consider the massive economic problems that they've been having. Strangely enough, around the same time, Japan had a 7.1 earthquake off the coast in the southern part of Japan. California had a 5 around the same time. So, that's exciting. But economic woes aside, I don't think a lot of these business models are survivable. I really don't. I think there are too many streaming services and they're competing with each other. Like, I think they expected everybody to just subscribe to every streaming service when in reality, most people tend to pick one, maybe two.
Yeah.
I don't know. Where do you think this is going, Jason? I expect a collapse.
I expect to collapse. The thing is that if these companies were really serious about the streaming, what they should do is they should be funneling their revenue towards already existing streamers. Coming out with a show and putting it on Netflix, licensing it out, because that's going to get them more money than if they sit there and they try to compete against the already existing companies. Because they've got to advertise, they've got to get in new subscriptions, they've got to come up with content, they've got to figure out all the technology to stream to all their subscribers. I mean, Disney Plus is a good example of this. Disney Plus thought they had it all under control. The moment they went live, everything crashed.
Well, their
the thing
original
is that if I was
hasn't been attractive enough to draw people in either.
No. But if I was Paramount or if I was Disney, what I would be doing is I'd be licensing my catalog to everybody and their dog and just getting whatever money I could that way. And then I don't have to worry about the crap. I don't have to worry about advertising, keeping all the technology moving and going. I don't have. It's literally out of my hands. And if I'm licensing my content out, it's up to Netflix to handle all the streaming side of it. It's up to Amazon Prime to pay me to keep maintaining the licenses and stuff. It's and then, like I said, and then I can just back off and do my own thing. I don't have to figure out a completely new business model. Plus, like you said, if you have all these subscribers out there and you're expecting everyone to subscribe to every single service, that's so dumb. That's why would we do that? We don't have enough time to watch all the stuff we want to watch already. Why would we subscribe to a bunch of different services that we're never going to use?
Well, it
just makes no sense.
Well, it's part of the short-sighted perspective that all of these companies have. All of them look at like a 5-day into the future perspective, it feels like. As much as you might go, well, no, these are smart guys. They're not that smart. And I'll tell you why. A lot of them threw a lot at streaming and they had a massive amount of success. And they're like, well, this is going to go on forever, except for the fact that was COVID related and nobody could go outside. And then they had a shocking dump of revenue when people dumped some subscriptions because COVID was over and they no longer had to stay in the house. And then they acted surprised for some reason when their revenue went down because everybody wasn't still tied to their streaming services. It's like they would prefer we all live in chairs with our faces like locked into position watching cycling through different streaming services, apparently. But that's not how things work. Why would they assume that they were going to stay this revenue positive after COVID's ending?
Well, let's say that because so we know that because COVID was an issue that kept people inside, so they were streaming a lot more than they used to. Um, the thing is that even if we come out of COVID and we don't drop the streaming services, we just keep them. There's no guarantee that you're going to get more subscriptions because that's their business model. It's getting more subscriptions rather than just existing off their current incoming revenue. We've always got to be getting more people coming in and paying us more money, and that can't be sustainable because eventually you're going to get to a point where everybody is paying and there's nobody else to get a subscription to get payment from. Eventually you're going to run out of customers, and so you can't just take that as your metric. You can't just say, look, we're going to keep going and people are going to keep paying us money, because one thing that we've already we talked about this before the stream started, but we were talking about how these people who have deep pockets are just they're unconnected from reality, where the question becomes, what can I afford to buy this month, rather than what questions they have. I really don't know. But when it comes down to, I've got to either buy food or buy entertainment. Well, if I starve to death, I'm not going to be consuming entertainment. So, I'm not going to buy the entertainment. I'm going to buy food. You said,
you would hope people make those reasonable decisions, but a lot of people just go into debt because they don't want to have less. But
right. But the thing is that the money will eventually run out, and they'll be forced to get rid of things anyway. But regardless,
buy a credit card to pay for the other credit card. I mean, come
on. But my point being is if they're sitting around and saying, well, I've got enough money for food and I've got enough money for some entertainment, not all the entertainment, I'm only going to buy just enough entertainment. One, that I can afford, and two, that I can actually use. So why would I buy 10 streaming services if I can only watch and afford one?
Well, speaking of finish your thought.
No, that was basically it. It was they're going to be losing customers.
One would expect
we can't sustain their revenue. We can't, as their customers.
Well, and I don't think the business model is sustainable. But speaking of
it isn't.
The younger demographic that is obsessed with the TikToks and the YouTubes and the Netflix, what are your thoughts? Does your life revolve around the YouTubes, the dabbing and the such?
The dabbing. YouTube's definitely my most watched app. It's free, convenient. I really don't go on to anything else. I expect YouTube will just dominate all time.
We're not a channel that's obsessed with the YouTube drama or the interpersonal drama with people unless it's worth bringing up absently. I passively brought up the Mr. Beast drama going on. Not because, and by the way, there are channels that cover Mr. Beast drama daily. I passively brought it up. I heard somebody that sort of, I don't know, speculate that Mr. Beast is such a massive channel that if he crashes, he might take YouTube with it. I wouldn't think so, but to be fair, he is the biggest YouTube channel. And it would be damaging overall. I'm just no long. Once again, the cynic in me. I'm not overly confident that any of these services have guaranteed longevity. I think YouTube, at the very least, gives you such a wide berth of content that you're capable of going after, particularly this podcast, that you can pick and choose what you consume based upon personal tastes and personal opinions and political perspective and whatever, that it's almost infinite content available to you, so to speak.
Yeah.
Which I think is infinitely sustainable. But I mean, ad revenue has been down dramatically in the last few years, and economy's not doing well, and who knows? I thought it was worth a discussion, seeing as how we didn't like. There are bigger news. I suppose we could have brought up, like, we could have led with the Borderlands movie stuff, but none of us have seen it, and none of us is surprised at what's going on. I'm gonna do news dump, and I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit to a few of the things that are related to this discussion before we get to some of the other drama. But we'll news dump.
The Distracted Gamer Podcast's big steaming pile of news dump.
And Chance once again graces us with his toilet antics.
Flatulence.
Flatulence, I suppose. Okay, let's see. I'm selectively choosing the ones I pick to lead you along a little bit. We have an article from Bounding into Comics. Apparently, the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League caused a 41% loss in video game revenue for the
Yikes.
for Warner Brothers Gaming.
That is a hit and a half.
That game alone accounted for all of that, right? So that might make you go, oh, well, that's really bad.
Wow. Yeah.
So bad, in fact, that it looks like it's very likely that Warner is looking to sell off Warner Brothers Games, the company that that makes these things. And you might go, oh, well, that's a bad sign. Look at how bad that is. Well, let's sit here and think about it for a second, because guess what? On top of this, Warner Brothers, believe it or not, owns Cartoon Network, as well as the Boomerang app that streams old school, like WB cartoons, Warner cartoons and whatnot. It looks like Boomerang is going to be absorbed into HBO Max, and the Cartoon Network's website has been shut down among fears that Cartoon Network will simply go away. And you're like, oh, that's really bad for Warner. I wonder what else is going on. Yeah. Well, guess what? Apparently, their revenue this quarter was so bad that they have a $9 billion write-down of their company.
Ouch, 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 ouch.
So, you see why I arranged them in that order. Perhaps things aren't going well for Warner Brothers. It looks like, Kill the Justice League massively damaged their gaming studio, which is a bad decision on their part. And likely they're going to have to sell it, because partially they're having this massive financial issue and a $9.1 billion write-down. To clarify, if anybody doesn't know what a write-down is, it's essentially they have to... It's like they're reevaluating the total value of the assets they have. So if they're saying, my company is worth $100 million, now they have to tell everybody, actually, it's now really worth like $80.9 billion. You know what I mean? So it's not that they did have a $10 billion loss for second quarter, and they're doing a $9.1 billion write-down of their assets. And by the way, Warner Brothers Discovery is the one that owns HBO Max. Oh, so it's looking really good, everybody. Who also owns DC Universe? Wow. Who also owns and as Jason was bringing up, very likely what's going to happen with Warner, my expectation would be, is they're going to start licensing their stuff everywhere. Yeah. Oh, guess what? We started to see a bunch of HBO Max WB related content on Netflix. All of a sudden, Batman was on there, Godzilla was on there. Oh, shocking, the new Batman TV show that looks like they were going to try and cancel got sold to Amazon. Amazon's airing that, even though it's terrible.
I saw that today. I was like, wait, this is on Amazon? That's weird.
Yes, it is. And it's like,
I mean, now that we've gone through this stuff, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. They're trying to get money any way they can to stay afloat rather than go out of business.
Incidentally, back to the gaming end, it looks like Warner Brothers CEO suggested that the company may be planning to license out major properties like DC and Harry Potter, which they own Harry Potter. Outsourcing game development may help Warner Brothers adapt to rising costs and longer production cycles. Warner Brothers famously had a movie that was almost done called Batgirl and canceled it.
Yeah, they
and
that.
burned the copies so that it could never be released.
Well, see, people are confused about that. They're like, it was almost ready to go. Why are we never going to see it? The reason we're never going to see it is because they got money from the insurance company on that. See, if they had left it if they had left it in a state that they could release it down the line, then the insurance company wouldn't have paid out for it. They had to take a loss, and that they had to make it so that they could not recover any money from it at any point in history. And so they had to basically, like you said, they had to burn it. Well, because if they could in the future release it, then the insurance company wasn't going to pay out for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and at the time, if you remember us talking about this news, there were reports that they had people walking into the offices and pulling their computers out of the walls.
Yep.
Just walking out with whole servers and stuff, just so that there's no possible way a copy of that movie could be released, because then they would owe probably billions or millions of dollars or whatever. But they essentially turned it into a write-off on their taxes, is essentially what ended up happening. That's why you'll never see that movie. They had to write it off.
Because it doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, by the way, Paramount TV networks are collapsing into a $6 billion hole. It looks like they are also collapsing on themselves.
Oh my
and it's
God.
TV business.
The thing is I don't remember if we had talked about this on the channel before, but we saw this coming. When there were all the streaming services that were popping up left, right, and center. So Netflix was really the first, and they did gangbusters. They were getting money hand over fist, and the other companies looked around and said, we want a part of that. So subscription services started popping up all over the place. And I know that you and I have talked about this, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this with Ross and Silver, but we looked at each other and said, we can't sustain this because people aren't going to buy every single subscription service there is. They're just not. And so we expected this collapse. I don't know why they didn't.
Well, the problem with a lot of these companies, especially when you have people in charge of these industries, it's like, well, they have to hype up the fact that they're doing all the smart plays, and then the people under them who are in charge of different divisions are hyping up the fact that they're going to be successful, and everybody's super confident. I have a counter possibility for you, Jason. Not that we're not right about the fact that this streaming is unsustainable. I would add, though, Warner Brothers has a massive problem that they have also produced utter garbage.
Very true.
So do you think if they were making good content, it would have saved their company?
So
Because we've already claimed that the model that they're using is unsustainable, but
yeah,
they were also making bad content. Bad DC movies. The last two Harry Potter sucked. The massive failure with WB Games. The massive financial failure with the recent Snyderverse. There is a conglomerate of bad choices on WB's end that contributed to this problem.
I think you do have a point. And I think that if they had come out with good content, but the content would have had to have been so good, but it pulled everybody from the other streaming services. So if the content was just as good, then I don't think it would have worked. If the content was better, so that it was, like I said, so that it was actually pulling people, and WB's share of the market went from whatever it is today, probably practically nothing, to rival that of Netflix, then possibly I shouldn't say possibly, we wouldn't be seeing this. That they would be Netflix's direct competitor, and that they would be strong in that sense. But like you said, it's crappy content. It hasn't been impressing anybody. Nobody's wanted it. And because nobody's wanted it, they're floundering. But if it had been good content, it would have had to been stellar content, I think, in order for it to actually be pulling people to it away from the other established companies.
Do you think it would have been possible to salvage then if they'd have been making better content, or it was just an inevitability? They would have just slowed it down.
I think that if it had been good content, then yes, it could have been a salvaged situation, but that's I can't say for 100% sure that yes, they could have salvaged the situation if they had been better. But I think that they would have had a much better chance of salvaging the situation if they had good content that people wanted.
Let me remind you, they own Game of Thrones. They own Harry Potter.
And we saw what happened in season 8.
Well, they own Harry Potter.
True.
And they still can't. And I know that HBO Max, so to speak, is working on a Harry Potter TV series that's going to air on HBO.
Yeah.
So I guess expect a replacement of all of your favorite Harry Potter characters with new characters. But
I mean, once again, I just don't think that they can
turn the ship around.
Their track record is not good. Let's just say that. So even if I expect to have a Star Wars situation with Harry Potter. That's kind of my expectation. We get this, hey, we're going to come out with a Harry Potter thing, but everybody is sitting there going, you've been screwing up so bad with everything else. We're going to be wary of your attempt here at this new Harry Potter series. If it's good, then people will jump on board and they'll be like, oh yeah, you got to see this. It's so good. If it's bad, then you're going to have a massive fan backlash like they had with Star Wars.
Maybe.
That's kind of my expectation right now.
I'm and I've never been a Harry Potter fan, really. I recognize that people like it. I don't like the writing and the story. Like, I just don't care for it. I think Harry Potter's dumb. But I recognize how huge it is and how popular it is. And it's a massive franchise.
It could do really well. If they really tap into what people liked about it.
Well, everybody forgets Hogwarts Legacy came out not that long ago, and somehow they still crashed their gaming studio. They put a lot of eggs in that Suicide Squad basket.
Yeah.
What, Silver?
Nothing. I just Suicide Squad.
What, you didn't like the LGBTQ DLC for Pride
oh
Month?
My gosh.
Pride Month Mrs. Freeze or whatever?
That's right. I saw that costume. My gosh.
She's supposed to be a
They wonder
villain.
why they're stripping.
Well, she's supposed to be a villain. I don't know why people are like, well, even if
Well,
she's
she's a villain, but she's also supportive, I guess.
Yes, she's also a fan. Taking another track, Jason's favorite franchise, Borderlands, came out with a movie.
Yeah.
Do you know what the opening, basically the preview Thursday was, Jason?
What do you mean?
The
Like
preview
what they
Thursday
were anticipating?
for Borderlands. How much do you think they got?
Well, the article there says 10 million.
No, this is opening weekend. And this
Okay.
is the guess. See, initially the hope for them was something like 15 to 20. It looks like they're going to have to expect something close to 8 to 10. And because
Yikes.
apparently you're hedging yourself, the opening Thursday was 1.3.
Wow.
This is really bad.
Yeah, it is.
But like financial response to this film is horrifically bad. Like epically bad
Expected that.
in a level that cannot be understood with the amount of money they likely spent for this thing. I think they said the cost is likely something like 120, so I think it might be more. But my estimation then it would have to be probably 253 to get its money back.
Yeah.
It may not do that.
Yeah.
And apparently the negativity is so bad that Eli Roth, who worked on it, is saying, "Hey, everybody, give it a chance."
So you sent a text to me earlier, not just to me, but to all of us earlier of the Rotten Tomatoes score. It looks like the screenshot you sent, 8% from the critics and 60% audience score. That's actually higher than I thought it would be.
I think the audience score is lower now. It might be worth checking at the moment. Let me see.
I'll check. You go ahead and, if
right.
you want to pull it up.
Well, I suppose I can pull it. Rotten. This is good content. Rotten Tomatoes.
It has gone down.
A lot of people were shocked at the initial. So there were a lot of people that hate the current trend in movies were sort of gleeful. There were a lot of initial videos that came out talking about how the initial rating on Rotten Tomatoes out the gate from a handful of professional reviewers for the professional reviewer score was a 0. It raised to an 8.
That is wow.
And
I do have to
remind
say,
you that the audience score is more manipulated than the credited reviewer score.
Yes.
And audiences tend to be more positive about movies than
yes, they do.
Professional critics, unless they're paid shills. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. What I was going to say is, with the score being 10% on the professional reviewers side, I kind of expect that. Borderlands, if you are not actually a fan of the game, I don't see you going into this movie and actually enjoying it. And I think that's one of the things that this movie in particular had to overcome. There are a lot of people who are Borderlands fans, and that's why I saw the 60% and thought, oh, the fans are kind of enjoying it. This is a more mixed than bad review that I saw at the time, but now it's down to 51%. There you go. But I assume I had assumed that the critics score would be lower, just for the fact that if you don't have a background with the game, that you're going to be not getting a lot of the in jokes, and a lot of it's going to be going over your head, and so you're not going to be enjoying it as much as people who are actual fans.
I don't think that's the problem this movie has.
No. I'm not. I'm saying that when you're looking at the reviewers score as opposed to the audience score, but Unfortunately, most video game movies have been crap anyway.
Overwhelmingly, the response is it's unfunny, it's cringeworthy, it's really dumb. Like it's not positive. Like the show's
Right.
just bad. It's bad.
Right.
Let me at least point out that Rotten Tomatoes has a massive flaw in how it conducts, sort of how it calculates things, which is why I don't care for Rotten Tomatoes as a source of accurate review scores, so to speak. Metacritic is probably better because it congregates through a bunch of different sites. And the reason why I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes and why it's not a good source for this. So, Jason, in order for it to be counted as a fresh tomato, because everything's rated in tomatoes for some reason, in order to be counted as a fresh tomato, it has to get a 6 or more. So theoretically, you could have all reviewers give it a 6 and it would count as 100% fresh.
Wow.
That's how poorly rated or structured the rating system is. Like, because there's a gulf of difference between a 6 out of 10 and a 10 out of 10.
Right. That is not good.
Which is why Rotten Tomatoes is a garbage website to look at for accurate review scores. But people tend to point to it because it's hilarious. And it's the most recognized, I guess, review website. But it's not a good place to go for accurate assessment of whether or not anything.
So I just checked the Metascore on Metacritic. It has a 27.
That's probably closer to what it would accurately be.
And the user score is 3.0.
Okay. So it seems like audiences are responding better than critics. But overall, it's not considered great by either.
Right. The thing is that I tend to not, or I tend to discount the critics rating anyway, and lean more towards what the audience thinks of it personally, just because the critics, the professional critics, they're paid to do things, and so I don't trust their judgment for one. And it seems that critics are much more interested in whether a movie is artsy or has a message or something of that nature. Whereas if I want a message, I'll find one. If I want entertainment, I'll go see a movie. And so I'm more interested in the people that actually went and saw it and what they thought of it coming out. And if they were generally entertained by the movie, then that says more to me about the movie than if some critic says that it's 5 out of 5,
Granted, and I think it's more reliable. Here's the problem. Rotten Tomatoes has famously deleted reviews on their fan scores. On top of that, you have massive things like review spamming, positive and negative. You have companies petitioning Rotten Tomatoes to manipulate scores in one favor or another. It's really difficult to have a reasonable website to get a reasonable score. Metacritic's the best way to do it. If you're going to rely on a critic, don't look for aggregate critic reviews. Find a critic you trust and you like their opinion, or your opinions are in line, sort of thing, and then just rely on them alone. I wouldn't look at Rotten Tomatoes at all for any accuracy in any way, whether it's audience review score or critic review score.
I like to look at them to get a feeling of, a lot of times what we see, like for instance with The Acolyte, was what I feel was more. I granted they were manipulating the reviews and stuff. They still couldn't manipulate everything, and so I liked to see that disparity between what it was being rated by critics and what the audience actually thought of it.
Fair enough. I'm just saying there are flaws either way. And this happens.
Yeah,
this is what's so dumb is like people are looking for honest ratings and scores in order to make a reasonable consumer choice when approaching product or whatever. And it doesn't matter what it is if it's on Amazon. And then it's like, oh, okay, this has good reviewer scores. Well, here's the problem. People will spam reviews on Amazon products to make it look like their product is better when it's not as good as, say, something else that's low. So it's like, you want an accurate assessment of products and reasonable reviews, but then it's almost impossible to get accurate assessment of products.
That's true.
And reviews. So I don't know what you can do. Look, like Metacritic is a good place
there really
to go.
isn't
But
anything.
no. No.
This conversation actually reminded me. So when I was younger, and I don't know if you experienced this, Rhett. I know that Silver is too young to have experienced this, but
Fell out of the womb.
yeah. The thing is that Siskel and Ebert, two of the most well-known movie critics, they actually used to have a television show.
Yeah.
Where they would show clips from the movie and they would explain, what they liked about it, what they didn't like about it, and then they would give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It was a big deal to get 2 thumbs up from Siskel and Ebert. It really was.
Because they were a trusted source for reviews.
They were a trusted source for reviews. But even then, there were movies that basically got cult followings, that Siskel and Ebert hated, But, they were paid movie critics. So they were looking at things like cinematography and direction and things like that when, most of the time they would, if it came down to it. I know I watched a couple of episodes where one or the other was like, this movie doesn't make good choices directorially. Its cinematography is crap. I enjoyed it. It gets a thumbs up. So there was still a few times where they were like, look, I really enjoyed this movie. It shouldn't work, but it tickled my funny bone or whatever the heck it may have been. And so it was interesting to see the two guys on television. So
well, I suppose anyway. The more meta point, which comes down to anything, is that, believe it or not, there's no such thing as perfectly objective opinion. You can have general objectivity when it comes to quality. It's funny, there's a scale here. So, for example, is there a perfect universality when it comes to opinion? No. Can there be objective standards when it comes to quality of certain things like shows and art in general? Yes. I believe there is a degree of objectivity when so for example, it's like the lighting's bad, the directorial stuff doesn't make sense, the writing's bad. Now, does that mean you can't like said piece of art? No. And the only opinion that truly matters in the end is your opinion. Believe it or not, famously, This podcast has hated a lot of content out there. Rings of Power, for one, where we just thought it was a steaming pile of horse crap. However, if there's a world that exists where you love Rings of Power, that's awesome. I'm not upset that you like it. And in fact, they're going to have people out there that do enjoy Rings of Power. And we're not upset about that. It's super fine. No one has to, we shouldn't have to be forced to, this goes to bigger, like nobody has to force to congregate on opinion. And I don't know why people seek collective sort of approval for things.
It used to be necessary.
Go ahead.
Yeah, it used to be where if somebody didn't like something, it was like, okay, and you just shrug it off and walk away. But now it's like, no, you have to like it because I like it.
We don't exist in that world.
No.
And now we fight.
That's not how this works.
And now we fight. And the fight, the disagreement about things is actually better. The hatred over people's opinions, and this is a theory I've had for a long time, and I think we all kind of agree with the perspective. One of the biggest problems in current culture today, and I've called this out constantly, and this exists in nerddom, exists in fans of movies and TV shows and video games is people self-identify with the things that they like. So if somebody goes, I'm a massive Marvel fan, and then you go, well, I don't like Marvel. They don't take it as, I don't like that movie. They take it as, you're hurting me personally because I've internalized these movies so much in my appreciation that you're now hurting me personally and attacking me personally because of the thing that I like. You don't like the music I like. I hate you now. How could you say those horrible things? Now, we need to be a lot less sensitive about the things that we hear when people say stuff we don't like, as well as, and this is something I've preached about before. This shouldn't be shocking to anybody. I think you have more value than your love of Star Wars. Shockingly, I know. Believe it or not, as a person, as an individual human being, you're more important than Star Wars. Perhaps don't try and replace your hot takes. Perhaps don't try and replace your personality and structure your life around one small thing that you're nerdy about. Hey man, Marvel is cool. I get it. You're bigger than Marvel. It's just a piece of entertainment. Hey, and we love it, and we're going to complain about it. And we're going to complain about the lore in Rings of Power, and we're going to get upset about the changes that happen to superheroes that we love. And that's super fine. And if somebody goes, oh, well, I like it, and it's like, good, great, I'm happy. Now, I might question your opinion, Chance, in your taste and liking the Snyder Cut. However, you're allowed to like the Snyder Cut. We lack the capacity to have reasonable disagreement and then not take it personally. And everybody internalizes the things that they love so personally. And maybe it's because we become such a consumer of media that it's become everything about our personalities, and we're more important than simply what we consume in media. Jason?
Well, not only that, but people. It's gotten to the point where people are supplanting their personality for their likes. You know what I mean? It's instead of having a personality, it's their personality is Star Wars geek. Their personality is Marvel fan.
Yes.
And it's like, well, no, that's not your personality. That's your interests. Your personality is everything about you, not just that one thing that you happen to like. That's where the hang up is here. We got to get away from this. I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a Marvel fan.
Not to get too personal, the reason why they do that is because they lack purpose personally.
Yeah.
And they're replacing things that they lack in their own lives with something else to try and fill the hole. Famously, I'm very sure Silver is very aware of this phenomenon where people get overly obsessed about certain things, anime, and this happens all the time, where people replace their personalities based upon shows, specifically because it's just I'm all about that show, Naruto or ReZero or whatever. Silver.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, definitely it was mainly in high school. I noticed that a lot. You'd see the certain groups of people of like, wow, yeah, you totally just live anime. That's all you do. It was their very being.
And that's all they are. And it's a lacking in who they are as an individual. They lack purpose in their lives, and they're replacing meaning with something to attach themselves to. We don't need to get too deep into the weeds when it comes to sort of my philosophical perspective on these things, but everybody's observed this. And there's nothing wrong with being a nerdy about something you love. But I'm going to tell you right now, with all the love in my heart, you're more important than that. Stop being a dumbass. Get, I don't know the cliche touch grass, but it's like it's not even just touch grass. It's just like love Naruto. That's great.
Oh.
Don't wrap your personality around Naruto. Naruto's not real. You'll never be the next Hokage.
I no, I am the next Hokage. How dare you?
Silver will never be the next Hokage. You know why? Not just because it's not real, but because you're not good enough. You haven't trained hard enough. You'll never reach that height.
How dare you?
I dare. What do you do about it?
I'm the living embodiment of what's her face. I haven't watched Naruto.
Well, to circle back to Borderlands, essentially they're begging you to see it and give it a chance. Eli Roth is asking fans to give the film a chance. When you're saying something like this, it's already over.
Yeah. The thing is that your movie should speak for itself, and I think it already has.
Well, I saw. Here's a related news article. I've been skipping around as we sort of discuss things. I'm going to jump down to Alan Wake. Hey, everybody. Alan Wake still hasn't earned its money back. It's still not revenue positive. And I looked at reaction to this in the Alan Wake subreddit as well as the PlayStation subreddit and stuff. And the cope based upon responding to the fact still, well, this was always in their financial plan. They have a more long-term perspective.
What?
This is
not in their financial plan.
Right. Right. There's a lot of cope trying to be like, no, I love it. How could they, anyway, the massive amount of cope in the subreddit forums has been delicious. People trying to justify, well, no, it's actually really good, and it's just going to take a while. And it's like no company plans on being revenue positive 2-3 years after the game came out. That's never the plan. No. It's just it's a financial. I mean, even if they finally do become revenue positive, it's a financial mistake. It's not considered a massive success. I mean, part of the problem being, by the way, that they didn't come out with a physical copy. It's digital only. And now they're responding within October. They're finally releasing a physical copy. And everybody's coping on the internet going, well, they're gonna release a physical copy, so that excuse isn't a thing anymore. The people aren't suddenly gonna flood to make up the sales difference because now there's a physical copy. That's not happening. Just because they're now doing it doesn't suddenly make up for the issue. But yeah, it's a stumble for their company. We are expecting Control 2, hopefully. Control 2 is really good. I really liked 1. I thought Control 1 was great. Apparently, they're getting a Max Payne 1 and 2 remake, which, assuming they do a good job... I mean, I love Max Payne. If they do a good job, I'm 1,000% behind it. And this is somebody who was kind of abandoning Remedy at this point.
Yeah. See, that's always what it's going to be for us. Is it good?
Yes. And Borderlands is not, as it looks like. So Disney had D23. If you've never heard of D23, they have it every few years, where it's all of their massive announcements of upcoming whatever that's coming the way. There isn't a lot of surprises.
Basically their expo.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of surprises on here for me, but we'll go down it really quickly. Moana 2 trailer, you guys watched it?
Yeah, I watched it. Don't care.
Okay. I really like Moana 1. I am kind of meh about 2.
Exactly. So it's one of those things where the studio puts out an IP and gets. I liked Moana 1. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching it. Dwayne The Rock Johnson did a great job as Maui. I couldn't tell you who else was in it.
It's been the first Disney movie I've liked in years.
But the thing is that now it's like, you know what? We got to have another one. It's like, no, actually, you didn't. You could have just stuck with Moana 1. And we would have all been happy.
Pixar didn't used to do this where they constantly had to come out with sequels. They just made new movies. Sequels is a bad sign because their new content is failing. It's not exciting, the trailer, to me. That's all. And the one demographic, the little girl demographic with Silver, doesn't seem to be down with it. No? Yes? Is it up your alley?
Wait, what?
Is it up your alley, dog? Moana 2?
I missed. I didn't get a chance to watch the trailer, so I know nothing about it.
Are you hyped for Moana 2?
No, though.
Okay, moving on.
Just
Dwayne
leave
Rock
it at
Johnson.
1 and it'll be fine.
I like 1. This should be your demographic. You're like Princess Girl, aren't you?
Yeah.
Of course. You know me.
Don't sass me, woman. Dwayne Johnson is doing a Monster Jam movie with monster trucks. Okay. Avatar 3 officially announced. I hate Avatar, but they are very financially successful. So my expectation is 3 will do very well. But Avatar sucks balls. Just terrible.
And it won't really be any good, but people will flock to it.
New Pixar movie didn't seem interesting to me. Toy Story 5. Oh my gosh, you guys are creatively bankrupt.
Toy Story 5 needs to stop making movies.
It should have ended with
You've
3
so many
and the overly depressing ending. And I'm going to be honest, we didn't need a 2 or a 3. Toy Story 1 was fine.
No, we did. Toy Story 1 was amazing.
And as Silver was interjecting there, they had so many conclusions to the story, they don't need to keep trying to... Pixar reveals Hopper's start. Yeah, I don't care. Not for me. Elio prepares for June 2025 premiere. More details. Incredibles 3? No. Incredibles 2 is terrible. 1 is really good.
Yeah.
Incredibles 2 sucks. Zootopia. I hated Zootopia 1. Hated Zootopia 1. And people love that movie. So not interested in Zootopia. You notice how all of these are pandering sequels to things that were successful?
Yeah, because they can't, the stuff that they've tried to come out with that's been original has been terrible. They have to go back to Frozen 3, for instance.
Silver's favorite movie here. We got Frozen 3. Silver?
What could they possibly do now? The second one was so bad. The first one, I didn't like, but I could see why people liked it. Just leave it at 1. It was...
Oh, Frozen musical, by the way.
You mean Frozen wasn't a musical to begin with?
Live action musical on Broadway. Star Wars Skeleton Crew. It could be okay. It could be okay.
It could be. It's one of those, like, we were talking a little bit about this before the show, and I'm reluctant to commit myself with this. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a Star Wars thing. It seems like they're trying to go more for adventure,
which they should have been doing from the beginning.
Yeah. And so it's possible that this could be good, but basically they burned our fingers with Star Wars, up to this point. And so it's like, I don't trust you people.
No, I agree.
It could be that you've shown us all the best bits in this trailer and everything else is going to be garbage.
Well, look, I'm basing solely off of this trailer. I'm thinking it doesn't look like it's going to be a steaming, just superficially.
Yeah.
Because it's not involving main characters. It's not involving massive galactic events. It's going to be very difficult to ruin the lore. They've tried, and they're capable of doing that. That being said, I can't even guarantee I'm going to watch it. And if even if I do, I'm probably going to sit there with my arms folded, like daring them to impress me. So
yeah.
Andor. Here's the
totally
thing. Andor, of all of the Disney stuff, I've heard Andor season 1 is actually good. I've heard it's good.
That's what I've heard too.
So it's a good sign that they're going to get a season 2. Hopefully it's by the same people that made season 1, and they're going to continue on with that. I haven't seen Andor season 1, but hopefully this is successful. Hopefully it's good. I've heard good things about season 1. Mandalorian Grogu, I wish they would have thrown Grogu into a wood chipper, honestly. He's such a crap. Like, I don't care. I'm never going to see this movie. Not interested in any way.
Oh, no.
Grogu sucks, Silver. Deal with it.
I'm just picturing that little thing flying, planting in said wood chipper. And I'm like, oh gosh.
Good. Ironheart, I
Yeah,
suspect
the
this goes
Mandalorian.
nowhere.
The Mandalorian should have not had Grogu in it.
Season 1 was good. Season 2 was all right. Everything after that was just terrible. Just awful. And I do not care for a movie. Anyway, moving on. Ironheart, I don't expect this to be good.
Oh,
I'm not going to see it.
It's going to be a steaming pile.
I'm not interested. Don't care. Good luck without me.
Nope.
I just remember why I brought up Alan Wake. Somebody actually pointed out, well, we should support Remedy because they're a great company. My response, as somebody who has an unreasonable love for Remedy's games, my response is no.
No.
They do not deserve my money. The deal is they make product I want. I give them money in return. They don't deserve unquestionable loyalty. Their loyalty is granted because of a track record of success and producing product that deserves the money I give them.
Yep. If they come out with a good game, then they deserve their money. Then we should support them. If they come out with garbage, you shouldn't buy it just to prop them up.
Because
that's wrong.
Once again, they turn this into some sort of, like, it's our responsibility to support them, like it's a cause. Ironheart does not deserve the benefit of the doubt. I would be shocked if it's good. But based upon the track record, one, of Marvel and Disney and how they've handled things lately, and Marvel in general with the comic books, how they handle things lately, Ironheart is a terrible character in the comic books. She's just a piece of shit character. She's not interesting. She is a girl boss of the highest caliber in a Mary Sue. She's bad in the movies. I'm not interested. You've given me no indication that I should be going towards if she was good, if she has a track record of being good. If Marvel had a track record of producing quality content, Ironheart might have a chance in my eyes to get my money, but they're not going to get my money. And I know people who are detractors who go, oh, you're just a horrible person. You don't want to support it forever for whatever accusations you might throw at me. Good, you support it. I have no obligation to. It's not my job. And then they'll go, well, good. Well, I'll go see it. Yeah, but you need more than just activists who are turning this into a cause to support it, because you need more than that. You need normies and you need hardcore fans. And you've lost those people. Well, let's not drag out the Ironheart thing. Daredevil Born Again. So if I recall, this was supposed to be... I can't remember, 12, 18 episodes. I can't remember how many. But essentially, they had filmed half of it. And some of the heads went and watched the first 6, 8 episodes that they had. And they went back to square one and reshot. That tells me that it was awful. That it was really bad.
Let's pause there real quick. It could be that it was good, but not going in the direction that the heads wanted it to go. Because we know that Hollywood has been more on the side of we need to hype a message rather than we need to have good content.
Jason, in the new one, at this point, they had killed Foggy.
Yes, I did see that. I did.
2, the show was written as a courtroom procedural.
Oh my gosh.
Why do you think they watched it?
Yes,
and went,
I did.
Nope.
Well, the thing is that my point still stands. They could have watched it and said nope because it wasn't woke enough. But
I mean, maybe.
I do get your point. I do get your point that it was written entirely wrong for a Daredevil a series. And not only that was Foggy killed, but so was what's her name. They were both killed off screen.
Yeah.
The redhead. I forget her name.
Yeah, well, she's supposed to be blonde. Apparently, they're bringing them back, so they're not dead now. And the show seems to have completely been redone. That's how much they disliked the direction they were taking it. And we're going to get Kingpin and Punisher and whatnot. I don't know how you bring Kingpin back after he showed up in the Hawkeye show and a little girl beat him up because his threat now is meaningless. And Daredevil's like it means nothing anymore. Daredevil apparently retired and then got embarrassed and had the walk of shame when he hooked up with
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk. Like, it's a damaged brand now. I don't trust you.
Yeah, it is.
You don't deserve my attention.
Let's see. If Kingpin got beat up by a girl in the Hawkeye series, then he got beat up again by a girl in the Echo series.
Yeah.
And he, in the Punisher series, beat up Punisher in prison. So that means by association that both Hawkeye and Echo could beat up the Punisher. So the Punisher is not a threat either.
Well, see, this is the problem. And this happens all of the time. This is related to, let's say use a wrestling analogy. If you're going to have a wrestler, or let's say a villain, exist as a threat, you have to preserve the threat, because if you defeat them easily and demean them, nobody cares when they show up later. Case in point, we had Kang the Conqueror and the Marvel stuff, who lost in the Loki TV show, then lost in Quantumania, and I'm supposed to sit here and act like he's a massive threat after he's lost and been beaten twice now in the Marvel universe. The villain should always be stronger and a bigger threat. That way it's amazing when they overcome said threat, when the heroes beat this, as opposed to we have a strong female character that we need to show as strong and female and awesome. So she's going to beat a previously awesome and well-loved villain. That now you've elevated this character, this female character, and destroyed that villain for all time. No longer meaningful, no longer a threat, nobody cares. Let's move on. Agatha TV show, I don't care about this character. I, in fact, kind of hate it, and I hope it fails. Percy Jackson Season 2, I didn't care for Percy Jackson, the newer stuff they're doing. Season 1 just passed over my head anyway.
So my kids watched Season 1, and they said that it stuck more closely to the books than the movies did. So it could be that if you enjoyed the books, you might enjoy the Percy Jackson series.
All right. Anyway, Freaky Fridays 2.
Percy Jackson passed me by too. So.
All right. Freaky Friday 2, Silver, you're a massive Freaky Friday fan.
They need to stop making Freaky Friday.
Do we need to bring this back?
I can't even say I remember Freaky Friday at all.
Live action Lilo and Stitch
needs to not exist.
Oh, Snow White. Rachel Zegler is back, everybody.
Oh my gosh.
Who so damaged Disney and her own personal reputation with her political statements and the stuff that she said during the actor strike, that this show was dead before it arrived. Now, it seems like they retooled everything
all
massively.
Shot.
It was essentially all shot, and they retooled it completely. Originally, it was supposed to be what the joke was, what like the 7 Portland baristas and Snow White or whatever, based upon the shots that they had.
Magical people of diminutive stature.
Well, right now they're just cartoonish dwarves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like the original, don't they?
Okay, so you sent out this in a text before the show, and so I watched the trailer. It looks terrible.
Yeah, it does.
First of all, I think Rachel Zegler, they never should have cast her as Snow White. She doesn't fit the type.
No, she
for
sucks.
one, and two, her political stance, her philosophical stance is reprehensible at best. But just watching the trailer, the cinematography, the CGI that they've had to put in here looks so garbage.
It's very
so
fake
garbage.
looking. Well, and it doesn't
the
help.
the whole show looks
Well,
fake.
it does.
I mean, even her, she's real and she's in it. And there's this one shot of her reaching out her arm to pick up the apple, and it was like, is that actually a person's arm, or did they CGI her in there?
Well,
it looks terrible.
They've been desperately enslaving artists, like foiling over trying to make this seem like it's not an entire piece of crap. And she burned these bridges, and it's not even because her political stances. It's because she's immensely outspoken about her political stances, and she became a symbol of everything that everybody hated in Hollywood. For like a year or two, she was the center of all of that. And let's remind everybody, she was previously in 2 other movies that were flops. Let's not forget, she is not a massive draw when it comes to the box office. She might be a detriment to the success of this movie. Tron movie, I don't care. I'm not that big a Tron guy. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. I'm not that big a Tron guy.
I gotta say, the first Tron movie was
boring,
interesting for the time, but looking back on it, yes, boring.
Yeah, it sucks. And I like the ideas. It's interesting and fascinating, but it's boring. It's really boring.
It is. And then the next Tron movie wasn't all that much of an upgrade. Yeah, Tron Legacy wasn't all that much of a...
No. Yeah. I don't know why they keep trying to reboot Tron. It doesn't make any sense to me. The Mufasa, I don't care about Mufasa. They've already broken their own lore with the Mufasa movie. Unless you remember, Jason, the line where it's like... I can't remember exactly what it is, but basically Mufasa is telling Simba about how Simba's going to rule after him, just like his forefathers before him and that sort of thing. And the Mufasa movie, it's like, oh, Mufasa, this lion cub that has no royalty in his blood. It's like, excuse me?
Oh.
Haven't your family been ruling the Pride Land? Haven't your family been ruling the Pride Land for generations? Excuse me? No royal blood in Mufasa?
No, he worked from the ground up.
He's
this
the
lion
community organizer.
Oh my gosh.
I just had problems with that at its gate. Let's try and finish up really quickly. Here's some news from Jason. Ice cream.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Baskin Robbins apparently has released a new flavor of ice cream. This is unfortunately only available in Japan for Pokemon. They call it Poke Summer.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, it's a Pikachu and Hogtail fruit ice cream. It's sweet pineapple passion fruit combined with strawberry, orange, and grapefruit. It sounds amazing. I would love to try this. It sounds really good, but apparently it's only available in Japan. So.
All right. Moving on.
Oh yeah, Peacock. We have, let's see, Megamind. Did either of you know that there was a sequel to Megamind?
Yeah, the Doom Syndicate, and I heard it was bad, and I never made an effort to watch it. And I love Megamind.
Megamind is awesome. I love that movie. Apparently, Megamind didn't do all that great in the theater, And so when they came to Megamind versus the Doom Syndicate, basically Peacock just released it. They didn't advertise it. They didn't do anything. On top of that, they got none of the original actors to come back and reprise their roles. And this is all going into a Megamind called a Megamind cartoon series called Megamind Rules. And yeah, the thing is that it's got a 9% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7% audience score.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. Megamind is the one movie.
I didn't even know that they were working on it.
Well, there was a small short that they did as well after Megamind came out. I was aware of this movie. It looked bad, so I didn't move forward. Anyway.
Okay, so this is actually a bright spot, in my opinion. Apparently, they've been doing some tests and stuff with letting people get their hands on Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2.
This happens a lot.
And they've been loving it. Been loving it.
I love Space Marine 1.
So, yeah, Space Marine 1 was an amazing game. It was so much fun. So much fun.
And Space Marine 2 has co-op.
They're doing a 3-player co-op, if I remember right.
Yeah, it's an odd number, but so be it.
Yeah. All right, Netflix. Apparently, a lot of their anime lineup for 2004 has started appearing online already. So we have
also Crunchyroll
Dandadan
was attached to this.
Yeah. Dandadan, Terminator Zero, Ranma, Half, Mononoke, the movie, Phantom in the Rain. They've had full episodes that have been popping up on Twitter and 4chan and X, actually, rather than Twitter. But apparently, Anime News Network was the leak was first uncovered because they had low resolution clips that were appearing online. So yeah.
Well, this
was the first episode of ReZero, Starting Life in Another World, season 3.
Just to give some clarification, a lot of these shows that were leaked because of this hack were shows that weren't fully announced or revealed. And especially with ReZero, who Silver will attest to, it's been very long time since we've had the last season of ReZero, like years at this point.
Yeah.
And people are chomping at the bit, and they've had no confirmation yet of when it's going to come out or what's happening, to the point where the first episode leaked, the creators were like, please don't watch it, you're going to ruin it for yourself.
Yeah, and that show was so big at the time.
It was huge.
Yeah, it was huge.
So this is actually
it was a really interesting take on an anime too, or not an anime, excuse me, an isekai. That's what I meant.
Yeah, and anyway, this was very damaging overall to the companies in question. I would liken it to like the source code being released before Half-Life 2, which pushed Half-Life 2 back a year or two before it got released.
Yeah. So you can talk about we kind of already talked about Skeleton Crew. They're very much giving this in this article. They specifically talked about how they have tried to give this an Amblin Entertainment feel. So it very much feels like the old like E.T. Kind of thing, where you've got the kids that are involved as opposed to adults and things.
Maybe,
but yeah. The next article that was on here, one of the reasons I included it was because of they were talking about how in the new Star Wars Skeleton Crew that they're really trying to go the adventure route as opposed to what they did in the Acolyte. And one of the things that they said here in this article, which to me this is one of the reasons why I can't feel super positive about the Skeleton Crew, was because they're talking about how this departure from the known characters allows them to include diversity, inclusion, and equity, as opposed to what
Yes.
What we all want is just good Star Wars. But the other thing that they pointed out is that the Acolyte came out and the reviews were mostly positive. It's like, are we both on the same page here from the same universe?
Acolyte was
Because I'm pretty
lambasted
sure
for weeks.
I'm pretty sure that the best you can say, the absolute best you can say, is mixed reviews, as opposed to
Acolyte-
completely abysmal, which is what.
Acolyte was so bad it damaged Star Wars. Like, that's how bad it was. This trailer is not going to play.
Okay, so apparently we are getting a new Lego Star Wars. I think it's a Lego Star Wars movie, and it's called Rebuilding the Galaxy. And I don't know if you've seen these pop up, but have you seen like the Dark Falcon and like the TIE X-wing and stuff? Have you
No.
seen those Lego sets?
No.
They have been releasing Lego sets that looked really weird, and I was wondering where they were coming from. Basically, they have this one called the Dark Falcon, which is the Millennium Falcon with a black color scheme, and they also have this TIE X-wing, which is like a TIE fighter body with X-wing wings. Apparently, it comes from this movie. The movie is set in such a way that somehow the entire Star Wars universe gets rebuilt and everything gets put back wrong. So, like, Darth Vader is possibly a good guy. I don't know. He's in white. Luke Skywalker is more like he was in The Force Awakens, where he's just like, I don't want to be here.
I mean, I saw the thing show up. I have very little interest to nothing.
Yeah.
And also, by the way, the X-wing body TIE fighter sort of wings, so to speak, is not new. If you go back to the original Rogue Squadron books, they used to call them die fighters. They were amalgamation of ships from parts that were available, and they would make them so they were basically like smugglers and like people who steal. They were basically very crappy ships, like combined from just scraps of other ships. So that combination isn't new from the lore. Of course, that lore is not necessarily still a part of the universe anymore because they purged all of that.
Right.
But it existed before.
But it's a new Lego set.
No, I get that.
And like I said,
I'm just being nerdy about the concept.
Right. I've been seeing these Lego sets pop up for a while now, and I was like, what? Okay, whatever. And then I saw this trailer, and that's when it clicked, and I was like, oh, that's where this is coming from. We're getting this new Lego movie that basically they've screwed up the entire Star Wars universe, and they decide that they need to put it right.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a no for me, dog. Really quickly,
I like the games.
I do not. Well, as far as the Lego games go, they were okay, but then they started batching them together in the Skywalker saga, where you were forced to play the newer sequel trilogy, and no. The answer is no. Anyway, a game that me and Ross are big fans of, the Yakuza games. Here's a good sign. Apparently, the actors were told to not play the games because they wanted to explore the show from scratch and do their own thing, which is a really strong sign when you hear that about a show coming out.
Yeah.
Oh.
Maybe the Yakuza movie will be really bad. In terms of general news, so it's going to be slightly difficult to explain this. So there was a thing going on, sort of contention between Elon Musk, who owns X, or formerly Twitter, and advertisers, where essentially advertiser organizations were deliberately going after Elon Musk because he wasn't censoring Twitter in the way that they wanted to. So they were organizing advertisements to sort of boycott possible revenue streams into X because he wasn't playing ball in the way they wanted him to, I guess, control and manipulate the content that was being released on X, sort of thing. So his response was, well, I'm going to sue them for organizing an orchestrated boycott, a conspiracy boycott against my company, which I don't know about the legality of it, but he proposed that, well, I'm just going to sue them. I think literally a day after the company folded, after the threat of suit. So
my gosh, that's hilarious.
So the Global Alliance for Responsible Media, a nonprofit coalition of major advertisers led by the World Federation of Advertisers, told its members it would cease operations 2 days after Mr. Musk accused the group of orchestrating a boycott against X. The lawsuit claimed that the group known as GARM had violated antitrust laws by coordinating with brands to dissuade them from spending money on a social media platform. While the World Federation of Advertisers denied that GARM's work had run afoul of the law, it said that the nonprofit did not have the financial resources to continue operating while it fights X in court. Yeah, I don't have a problem with this.
Not at all.
It's funny. He's like, I'm going to sue you. And they're like, well, we're shutting down, everybody.
Run away.
And massive world-changing news that nobody's talking about. There was a massive lawsuit against Google for being basically a monopoly. And the judge ruled that they were a monopoly and were conducting themselves illegal as a monopoly. I don't know what's going to happen after this. Does this mean that they're going to chop up Google? Or they're going to hamstring them in some way? Let's be honest, when we used to trust bust, so to speak, massive corporations that were considered monopolies back in the day, these companies are way bigger than those other ones ever used to be, and are much more monopolies than they used to exist at the turn of the century. I don't have a problem with Google being chopped up into parts and being forced to separate. I don't know what the conclusion of this is going to be. But this is a massive ruling that they have been judged as a monopoly. Anyway, go ahead, Jason.
I wonder what I'd have to go read into it, but I was wondering what their criteria were, because, one of the things that you could argue is that, Google became a monopoly because they were just too good. Everybody searches on Google rather than anything else.
Well, and that's a reasonable point. The reason why it's used is because it's the better product. I suppose you'd have to prove that their business actions were crowding out competition as opposed to they're just a better product. I don't know how you would judge that, because there is a line. There's a line between it.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was wondering. It's like, how much of it was them actually sabotaging competition, or how much was it that they were just so big and so massive that competition couldn't flourish because they couldn't overcome they couldn't overcome Google in either monetary, because of the monetary outlay that they would have to be able to. The thing is you anybody can come up with a search engine and put it online. The problem comes down to how do you then get into the market that Google's in without having the monetary resources to fight against Google?
Well, on top of that, Google's search engine is really good because the massive database and structure built around understanding the algorithm and how to create searches and yada yada yada. I get it. Look, my biggest problem with Google is not because they have an effective search engine. My biggest problem with Google is because they collect my data, is because the massive evil corporate stuff that they're involved in, because how they own huge amounts of things and they throw money at the wall to do whatever they want to. My biggest problem with Google is they're way too big, and they've got their fingers in a lot of cookie jars, and they swing a massive hammer of influence because they have a huge amount of money. I have very little issue with the fact that Google exists as a search engine, except for the fact that they're collecting our data.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I was wondering.
So I don't know what the
'Cause-
outcome of this is going to be, honestly. And maybe
Yeah.
maybe Jason, because this is kind of up your wheelhouse as far as education is concerned, it would be worth looking into to see what the
Sure.
ramifications might be down the road. No one's talking about the story, and I felt it worth bringing up because this is potentially a massive, massive event when it comes to.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna go back
Yeah,
to
it
Internet
really
Explorer.
is.
What's that, Silver?
We're gonna go back to Internet Explorer. It's gonna rise from the ashes.
No, I want to ask Jeeves.
Firefox.
Ask Jeeves, yeah.
Firefox.
Jeeves.
They're
Yahoo!
gonna force us to use Bing.
Bing.
Once again, I wouldn't care if it's Microsoft, except for the fact that they're collecting my data. That's my problem. Not who the company is, which Microsoft, everybody used to joke about, was the giant evil corporation. That's Google now.
Yeah.
That's not so much Microsoft. But it's like if Google recedes and Bing becomes the new search engine, now they're the big evil corporation. It's not so much. It's not so much the search engine, but what they're doing with it, what they're doing with our information that I have a problem with. Yeah. It's been an entertaining podcast. I was feeling a little bit off today. I wasn't entirely sure. I sort of played with the idea of canceling, but I'm glad we stuck around and talked about the news and events of the day. Silver has apparently shut up on us. It is pulling teeth, young lady, to get you to talk to me. Sometimes I think you hate me.
Listen, it's been an off day. I'm sorry.
It's been an off day. Oh, what's
What do you mean it's an off day? You're always like this.
Yeah.
Even more so than usual. I'm sorry.
Oh, elaborate, unless it's too personal.
I'm sure you know already, but family stuff.
Uh-huh.
Our uncle, namely.
Uh-huh. I mean, big C thing happened. At any rate, we appreciate everybody for coming and hanging out with us. And we've got what am I talking about? I'm spinning on responses. It's been fun. Hopefully you've had fun with us. If you enjoy the podcast, like, subscribe. Do you want to end with anything, Jason, before we get out of here?
Nah,
All
I'm
right.
good.
Anyway, if you
I
have
ranted
fun,
myself out.
if you have fun with us. Yada yada yada. Thanks for coming along. We're out of here. Bye bye.
If you like the show, follow Rhett, Jason, Ross, and Silver, the world's most lethally stupid internet personalities, on Twitter at DG Podcast or on Instagram at Distracted Gamers. If you liked or hated what you heard here today, you can email them at thedistractedgamers@gmail.com and share your feelings. Not that Jason would care, since he hasn't any, of course.
Oh my God, it's so juicy.